program, they also tried to censor anyone who was basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were true.
Oh my God.
For all of y'all that may not know, Mark Zuckerberg, he's the guy that started Facebook. He is, I guess Facebook is called Meta now. Is Meta Instagram as well? I guess it's Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. I may be wrong on the Instagram, but I think it's Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. So Mark Zuckerberg, he did an interview with Joe Rogan. Mark Zuckerberg, I don't know, I guess a few months ago, I think it was right before one of the debates. Maybe it was right before the debate with Kamala and Donald Trump. He came out and he wrote a letter saying that the Biden and Harris administration, they were censoring, like they were pretty much censoring the things that were able to be put out on the Meta platforms. So the problem with that is that they were censoring things not necessarily based on truth and facts or lies, but they were censoring things based on, well, if this doesn't align with what we're trying to push, if we're trying to push the vaccine, and if anybody says anything bad about the vaccine, or if anybody talks about an experience that their family members or they may have had with the vaccine, we're censoring it because we just need people to take the vaccine. That's what ended up happening. And then, so Mark Zuckerberg, I guess, maybe I think he felt the energy of the country shifting, where we were moving more towards a conservative space, where people were more accepting of Donald Trump. People were excited that he had brought RFK Jr. on board and some others, but especially with the RFK Jr. partnership, when RFK Jr. dropped out as a candidate and decided to put all his backing behind Donald Trump. I believe that he started to feel a sense of the country moving away from all the woke ideologies, all this extreme stuff to where the country is going, and just falling back in line with a more common sense, conservative approach, which is what was being pushed, or a lot of people felt was being pushed from Donald Trump and his team. So a lot of people think that Zuckerberg now is just trying to kiss the ring. He's trying to be on the winning side. Now he's trying to be back with the cool people, rather than looking at it like, oh, Mark Zuckerberg just had an epiphany. Now he sees his principles, morals, and values have changed. So we're going to take a look at some of the things that he discussed in the interview. Obviously, we're not going to go over a full 2+ hour interview. Well, maybe that's not too obvious. We would do something like that. But let's get into it. I think oh, thank you, Anthony. So there's all three. So it's Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Interesting conversation. So Brian wrote, that guy is a chump. He should be in prison. Hopefully he gets Epsteined ASAP. Whoa, I was just reading the comments. I don't know what you meant by just reading the comments. Hold on. Just reading the comments. All right. Yeah. I don't even know what to say. Brian came in strong. Brian, please make sure that you subscribe to the show. We appreciate having you join us. Everybody else, make sure that you like. That's going to help boost the algorithm, all that, before we get into it. But without further ado, what's the first? Hold on, let me get the first. 8:26. So, we're right there. Already queued up. Isn't it good when it's already queued up? Yeah, we got 23K in the building. Y'all know we got 23,000 people in the building, 26,000 people in the building. Make sure that y'all like. That's going to help boost it and get that number up even more. Let's get into this convo.
I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who was basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us. Difficult to kind of follow. And this really hit the most extreme, I'd say, during the Biden administration, when they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. And now, I'm generally pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative. But I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who is basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were honestly were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably.
It was on mute. Shout out to Big Bro Doug. Did you really think that, Mark? Did you really think that, Mark? I'm going to ask y'all, who really thinks that he really, and we just weren't going to do that?
Do that, like, down. And I was just like, well,
it's because
we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of.
Does anybody believe him when he says that they really weren't going to do that? And my apologies, I keep putting it on mute because I have the sniffles. So y'all just going to hear the sniffles from now on. Did anybody really believe that he just wasn't going to do that? No. Based on my personal experience, y'all tell me based on your experience. Based on my experience, when I went on Facebook, went on Instagram, can't say WhatsApp because that's not really a social platform like that. But you were censoring a lot of those things. You were not allowing these things to come out. There were doctors, experts in these fields that were putting out information. There were people that had gone through situations, or their family members had gone through situations where they were trying to let the people know about their personal experiences with the vaccine and the impact that it made on their lives, and you were censoring it. And this is why Brian wrote exactly what he wrote when he said, this guy's a chump, he should be in prison. So don't you have, like, you can't hide behind ignorance. You can't hide behind being naive. You have too much power. You have to be held accountable for this. You have a social media platform that you fought for, I believe, in even previous years, based on the things that he said in this interview, that, hey, we started this just to have, free speech and to give people an opportunity to speak their, whatever their experience was, say whatever they needed to, and do away with censorship. Now you're talking about you were getting pressured to censor things that were actually true and that were not lies, but you still did it. Oh, wait, but according to him, he did not. Let's keep going.
Inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down things that
it was
that talk about vaccine side effects?
It was people in the Biden administration. I think it was I wasn't involved in those conversations directly, but I think it was.
How difficult is that to not be involved in those conversations directly? Fitness isn't just about what you do in the gym. It's also about
and that's a good place to stop. That's not me. That's just Joe Rogan's ad. Listen to what he just said. I don't know if y'all just peeped this. Listen to the last thing he just said.
I wasn't involved in those conversations directly, but I think it was.
You weren't involved in those conversations directly. Mark Zuckerberg, why would you not be involved in those conversations directly? If the president of the United States was trying to censor my platforms that I'm responsible for, that over half the people on the planet access in a month, I believe in this interview, they said like a quarter or a third of people on the planet use his platforms every day, or it was every week. And then they were saying like over a month, it's probably half the world. You have a certain level of responsibility. Now you're talking about the president of the United States in a situation like what was going on with 2020, telling your platforms to censor certain things, and you're telling us that you're not involved in those conversations. To me, that either sounds cowardly or you're lying. It either sounds cowardly or you're lying. And Ant wrote, I'm okay with the sniffles. I just don't want to hear no farts in 4K in my noise canceling headphones. Yo, I love it. So Maya wrote, he just made it seem like he was directly involved when he said he wasn't going to do it. Right. Right. This is why people don't believe. Yo, this is why people appreciate Donald Trump. This is why people appreciate Donald Trump. All this phoniness, bro. We're here for consistent, straightforward energy. Mark Zuckerberg's playing games right now saying this stuff. It just doesn't come across as genuine. Cuzzo said he's lying. So Ant said, he said every month it's 4 billion. Wow, half's the Earth's population. Wow. Cuzzo's like he's lying. It's his job. It's your job to know. Like who? Let me ask you this question. Who else do you think should have that conversation? And you know why he probably didn't want to be involved in those conversations? So he could sit here right now and say what he's saying right now. Like, look, I didn't. So he could pull a Gavin Newsom, like, yeah, we got problems here. Like, well, who's at fault for the problems? We just gotta fix the problem. Like, it's all. Uncle Brother, give us some guidance, Uncle Brother. Uncle Brother wrote, Zuckerberg ain't had no damn epiphany. He's just protecting his. The government, regardless of who's in charge, can take out Facebook or any other highly influential entity that doesn't do what they say. And this brings me back to when he initially came out and said that he wrote that letter saying that the Biden-Harris administration had pressured them or had forced the Meta platforms to censor a lot of things that were being put out. This is when I thought this was going to be a huge story. And I can remember that entire week, me going on MSNBC just on their YouTube page to see what they said about it. And they did not have one video about it. And a lot of these other liberal platforms, they just like kind of skimmed over it. This is insane. Censoring a platform in which half the world's population uses in a month. Do we understand that can shift and change culture? That changes the entire perspective. That's what had a lot of y'all hating people like me who did not want to take the vaccination, who did not care if other people took it, but I didn't want to take it for myself. I did not want to be forced to take it. I have no problem with other people taking it. I hope that it works. However, I just did not feel that I should have been forced to take it, and I did not take it. But I lost friends, colleagues, like all that type of stuff. It doesn't matter to me. But I'm still waiting on a couple phone calls, and I want to say those people's names, but I won't. Urs wrote, I'm sure he had attorneys at those meetings, right? Him and only him. Him and only him should be there. But like plausible deniability. Yes, plausible. Let's keep going. Let's keep going a little bit.
Strange too, right? Because you're running the company, but there's clearly you're moderating at scale that's beyond the imagination. The number of human beings you're moderating is fucking insane. Like, what's the Facebook? How many people use it on a daily basis? Forget about how many overall. Like, how many people use it regularly?
It's 3.2 billion people use one of our services every day. It's wild.
More than a third of the planet. That's so crazy.
Yeah, and it's
almost half of Earth.
Well, on a monthly basis, it is probably half of it. But
I want to say that though, there's a lot of like hypercritical people that are conspiracy theorists and think that everybody is a part of some cabal to control them. I want you to understand that whether it's YouTube or all these, whatever place that you think is doing something that's awful, it's good that you speak, because this is how things get changed, and this is how people find out that people are upset about content moderation and censorship. But moderating at scale is insane. Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
What we were talking the other day about the number of videos that go up every hour on YouTube, and it's bananas. It's bananas. It's like to try to get a human being that is reasonable, logical, and objective that's going to analyze every video. It's virtually impossible. It's not possible. So you got to use a bunch of tools, You're going to get a bunch of things wrong.
Yep.
And then you have also people reporting things. And how much is that going to affect things? You could have mass reporting because you have bad actors. You have some corporation that decides we're going to attack this video because it's bad for us, get it taken down. There's so much going on. I want to put that in people's heads before we go on. Like, understand
Joe, man,
the kind of numbers that we're
Joe.
talking about here. Now understand.
Like, we know he on your side now, but damn.
And then you have the administration that's doing something where I think they crossed
All right, we're moving. Hold on.
the line, where it gets really weird, where they were saying what you were saying. They were trying to get you to take down vaccine side effects, which is just crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you're saying, I mean, it's so complicated, this system, that I could spend every minute of all of my time doing this and not actually focused on building any of the things that we're trying to do. AI, glasses, like the future of social media, all that stuff. So
nah, we're not going for it. We gonna go to that. See, this is why I went through it beforehand. So we not just listening to a lot of this fluff. Joe taking it easy on him a little bit, in my opinion. He's taking it easy on him. But hold on, we got another. We're gonna go to 23 minutes. All right, here we go.
I think that the American technology industry is a bright spot in the American economy. I think it's a strategic advantage for the United States that we have a lot of the strongest companies in the world. And I think it should be part of the U.S.'s strategy going forward to defend that. And it's one of the things that I'm optimistic about with President Trump.
He's optimistic with Trump, but before we get to that, hold on. Ain't funny. He said, just remember to unmute. Y'all know what it is when I hit that little lean, act like I'm looking for something. I told you that Satan meat, man. That Satan meat got me gassy. All right. So, because of Roe, can we wrap our heads around the type of power he has to influence the world? That's a fact, bro. That's a fact. He probably, Anthony said he probably can't say who, because then that's going to tell us who's really in charge, because we knew it wasn't Joe. Antonice, that's a good point. That's a good point. So Ant wrote, is he on their side or Joe doing a subtle low-key switch? I don't know. Joe is giving, bought and paid for. Oh, did Trump call in Joe? Hey, Joe, take it easy on him. He's one of us. We're going to put him under the wing. We know we got a lot to work on with him. We know, but we're going to put him under the wing. Act like I'm looking for something. All right. Oh, yeah, you talking about me. All right, keep going. Let's keep going.
I think he just wants America to win. And I think some of this stuff is defend that. And it's one of the things that I'm optimistic about with President Trump is I think he just wants America to win. And I think some of this stuff, like the other governments who are kind of pushing on this stuff, it's like at least the U.S. has the rule of law, right? So the government can come after you for something, but you still get your day in court, and the courts are pretty fair. And so we've basically done a pretty good job of defending ourselves. And when we've chosen to do that, basically we have a pretty good rate of winning. It's just not like that in every other country around the world. Like if other governments decide that they're going to go after you, you don't always get kind of a clear shake at kind of defending yourself on the rules. So
yeah, what are we talking about? But I get it. Hold on. I'm not saying that. All right, so he's bringing up a point where at first he started off saying he's optimistic about Trump because Trump just seems like he wants America to win. And I think that is something that a lot of people recognize in Donald Trump, and that's maybe what even this whole HB1 visa conversation back and forth, that's why it's such a big thing, because a lot of people voted for Donald Trump solely based on his America First approach to prioritizing American values, American citizens. That's it, American businesses on a global level. That's what he's pushing. If it's good for America, that's the number one question that a lot of people believe when they're voting for Trump that is being asked. Maybe you see otherwise. But then when we start getting into a lot of the other things that, Zuckerberg is discussing, to me, it does come across a little bit like,
You don't always get.
And he's talking about what I'm getting from it. Well, is America still the greatest country in the world? That's what I'm getting from what he just said. And once again, to think about it, when you look at Democrats versus conservatives, Republicans, liberal, whatever you want to categorize these people in, there's a large portion of the population, I feel, as far as with the Democrats, that because they need people to feel like victims, they have to say that something is wrong. They always have to be able to run on something being wrong and unfair for a particular group of people and turning that group of people against the country, as if the country's not a good country for this group of people. Meanwhile, you have another group that is highlighting the fact like, yo, America is still the greatest country in the world. Yes, America may have its problems. America does have its problems. But America, let's not kid anybody. This is the greatest country in the world. You get the most amount of opportunities here. I'm just saying what people say. And America, I believe that as well, based on what I've seen. And because if I thought that another country was a greater country, I'd be over there. I'm just being honest. Me, I would at least be looking at it. When I go on my phone, I would be finding out what's their Zillow app that I can look at some property over here. Maybe it is just Zillow. I don't know. But let's keep going.
Kind of a clear shake at kind of defending yourself on the rules. So I think to some degree, if the U.S. tech industry is going to continue being really strong, I do think that the U.S. government has a role in basically defending it abroad. And that's one of the things that I'm optimistic about will happen in this administration.
Well, I think this administration uniquely has felt the impact of not being able to have free speech, because this is the administration where Trump was famously kicked off of Twitter. That was a huge issue. Like after January 6th, like they removed at the time, the sitting president. It was kind of crazy to remove that person from social media because you've decided that he incited a riot. So for him, without free speech, without people, without podcasts, without social media, they probably wouldn't have had a chance because the mainstream narrative, other than Fox News, was so clearly against him. The majority of the television entities and print entities were against him, the majority of them. So if without social media, without podcast, they don't stand a chance. So they're uniquely aware of the importance of giving people their voice, free speech. But you do have to be careful about misinformation, and you do have to be careful about just outright lies and propaganda complaints, or propaganda campaigns, rather. And how do you differentiate?
Well, I think that there are a couple of different things here. One is, this is something where I think X and Twitter just did it better than us on fact-checking. We took the critique around around misinformation. We put in place this fact-checking program, which basically empowered these third-party fact-checkers. They could mark stuff false, and then we would downrank it in the algorithm. I think what Twitter and X have done with community notes, I think is just a better program. Rather than having a small number of fact checkers, you get the whole community to weigh in. When people who usually disagree on something tend to agree on how they're voting on a note, that's a good sign to the community that there's actually like a broad consensus on this, and then you show it. And you're showing more information, not less, right? So you're not using the fact check as a signal to show less. You're using the community note to provide real context and show additional information. So I think that that's better. For when you're talking about like nation states or people interfering, a lot of that stuff is best rooted out at the level of kind of accounts doing phony things. So you get like, whether it's like China or Russia or Iran or like one of these countries, they'll set up these networks of fake accounts and bots, and they coordinate and they post on each other's stuff to make it seem like it's authentic and kind of convince people it's like, wow, a bunch of people must think this or something. And the way that you identify that is you build.
I don't know, man. I ain't really feeling it. I'm gonna go to the last timestamp that I have for y'all, and then we're gonna move on from here, man. This is a weak interview. It's a week. I thought it's funny when I was first listening to it. I was like,
Got to this point where there were these things that you just like couldn't say, which were mainstream discourse, right? So, it's like Pete Hegseth is going to, probably be defending his nomination for Secretary of Defense on the Senate floor. And I think one of the points that he's made is that he thinks that women shouldn't be able to be in certain combat roles. And until we updated our policies, that wouldn't have been a thing that you could have said on our platforms because it would call for the exclusion of a protected category of people. And so,
think about that. Think about that. He wouldn't have been able to voice that opinion. Somebody that has been in a lot of these combat roles, he wouldn't have been able to voice his opinion saying that that women should not be in certain roles. Why should that not be discussed? Like, we are different. We are different. Why are we like, does it make sense to force a wide receiver to try to play offensive lineman or D lineman? It doesn't necessarily make sense. Men and women are different. It is what it is.
It's like, okay, like on its face, yeah, calling for the exclusion of a protected category, that seems that like that's okay. There's like legal protections, there's all this stuff, but okay.
And I'm not even saying that I would agree with that aspect. I don't even know what exactly, like, we'd have to get more information as far as, well, okay, what role do you think that a woman should not be in? Why? And what has been your experience in this area? Like, why can't we at least talk about it? Why should that be censored?
If it's like okay to say on the floor of Congress, you should probably be able to debate it on social media.
Yeah.
So I think some of the stuff, I think well-intentioned, went too far, needs to just get rationalized a bit. But it's those two categories, misinformation and hate speech, I think, are the ones that got politicized. All the other ones, which is the vast majority of the stuff that we do, is I think people generally agree that it's good and we need to go after it. But then you just get into this problem of the mistakes, like you're talking about. Okay, well, what confidence level do people want us to have in our enforcement? And at what point would people rather us kind of say, okay, I'm not sure that that one is causing an issue. So on balance, maybe we should just leave that person's account up, because the pain of just nuking someone's account when you're not sure or you make a mistake is like, that's pretty real too.
Right. Yeah. Very, very complicated.
Yeah.
It's all very nuanced. And, you made a point earlier about the government supporting its companies, that it would be a good thing for the government to support its companies. It makes sense. It's an American company. I think the issue that we're dealing with is companies, as we're describing them, have never existed before, right? There's never been a thing like Facebook before. There's never been a thing like Twitter before, or X.
Yo, I think we're going to move on. I think we're going to move on from a Joe Rogan interview. I got to be honest, man. It was I don't know. It's Dak. Just want to thank you for checking out our video and visiting the OG Network. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure that you give us a like. And if you're looking to join a community of inspired individuals striving for purposeful abundance, subscribe. And if you're feeling real generous, share the video with some friends and family. All right, I'll see y'all soon. Ew.